Hello everyone and welcome to the Good Game Lobby review of Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector. A sleeper awakens with a new lease on life. Let's boot up and hack our way through the belt. Gareth Damian Martin, the game's creator, better known as Jump Over the Age, a one-person development studio, is back with a highly anticipated sequel to the Citizen Sleeper series, a dice-based RPG where humans and androids coexist. In a recent interview, Gareth shared that the game is designed so you don't need to play the first game to enjoy the second, but for those who did, you'll recognize some familiar faces. Okay, let's get into the main premise of Citizen Sleeper 2. You're a sleeper, an android for context, who has escaped from the clutches of an evil thug named Lane. While trying to reboot and remove your dependency on a synthetic drug, a stabilizer, Lane catches you, causing your reboot to fail. Now with your latex-clad body suffering from glitches, you escape. You have a price on your head and unfortunately have lost all memory of your past due to the system reboot. Your friend Seraphin helped you escape from Lane, and together you need to get a ship, build up your crew, and take on contracts as they navigate across the Starward Belt. The only problem is you can't remember anything before the reboot, and how can you trust anyone when you have no recollection of what happened or what's to come? At times, playing the game feels like reading a book with large sections of dialogue immersing you deeper into the interconnected weaving of data, unknown worlds, and matrix of connected android, ships, and space communities all trying to survive in this belt. I honestly wish I could just read the whole game as a book. The writing is superb, transporting you in and out of the belt and complex relationships you build with the people you meet, each one in pain in some shape or form. Losing life, loved ones, a way to survive, or just trying to escape the clutches of a bureaucratic space syndicate. So, I'm not shocked to learn that Gareth has a PhD in experimental literature. It speaks volumes about the interconnected world they build and how impressive it is to get lost in it with each session. I have seen other reviews though where they took different approaches with different sleepers and didn't enjoy the writing as much, so take that with a grain of salt because I only played the operator and thoroughly enjoyed the writing for that section. Let's hack into the gameplay. As a sleeper, you can choose between 3 different classes. I selected the operator, a more physically fragile sleeper with a deeper hacking system. Then there's the extractor with high physical endurance but lacking intuition. And the machinist, a skilled engineer who struggles with social engagement. I'm assuming that the people who didn't like the writing probably had the machinist and didn't have the right social engagement, so maybe those options are a little bit different. They all have great benefits but come with flaws. The 5 core skills are engineer, interface, endure, intuit, and engage, with each class lacking proficiency in at least one. These skills determine how risky it will be to complete contracts. Essentially, your missions to progress the story and level up your sleeper's abilities. One of my favorite contracts in the game involves fixing a water leak after an incident where fragments of ice litter a station frozen in space. Helping to repair it expands your crew and gives you insights into how people survive in the vastness of space without a planet to sustain them, and how crucial water is to everyone, a parallel to our current situation on Earth. This RPG uses dice-based system and borrows heavily on tabletop style of gaming. Each new cycle, think of a cycle as a day, you roll a dice ranging from 1 to 6. These rolls indicate your chances of success. For example, rolling a 1 gives you a 25% chance of a positive outcome, 50% neutral, and 25% negative, with the negative outcomes inducing stress, which you need to monitor. Increased stress causes glitches and can even break your dice, adding more stress, a vicious cycle. That skill that each sleeper lacks also comes into place. For instance, I lack endure, so those prove dangerous when using a dice on them. It's only when I use a 6 roll of a dice that I would attempt it, otherwise it induces more stress. You'll also manage your crew's supply to avoid starvation, maintain ship fuel, gather components for upgrades, and complete contracts for cryo, the in-game currency. This cycle-to-cycle gameplay grows more complex as you add more crew members, who will help with major contracts while traveling new areas in the belt. I recommend reading every dialogue tutorial and reviewing them in the settings. I missed one and was puzzled about the stress management early in the game. Once I figured it out though, it became smooth sailing, keeping the crew fed and stress-free. Unlike the first game, where you're stationed in one area, Citizen Sleeper 2 gives you a ship to maintain and explore the Hylian system, expanding both the world and the lore. Over time, you'll build up ship components, unlocking more fuel to travel further into the belt. Even when reading large portions of the dialogue, you're represented with a dice to roll for certain actions. This random roll can lead to decisions that impact the story beat and change everything. Keeps you on the edge of your seat wondering how the outcome will unfold and fits into real-world scenarios where you never know what will happen next and sometimes just have to take a chance. Let's move on to the visuals. Okay, I'm terrible at pronouncing names, so bear with me. Guillaume Saint-Gelais, the character designer, returns to Citizen Sleeper 2. The narrative easily focuses on character actions and their impact on the story because the designs speak for themselves. Guillaume captures each character's attitude with their posture, weapons, and even their injuries, which add depth into the game's atmosphere. Over a year ago when the game was announced, we were gifted with a reveal trailer, an animated video introducing the antagonist Lane and the protagonist Seraphin and Sleeper. My only complaint is that I wish the game had more of this type of animation, but I understand how time-consuming that would be. If it meant delaying the game for years, maybe it's a trade-off I can accept. I recommend watching the full trailer because it does a wonderful job setting up the game's main premise. Audio cues for stress are so well done you can almost feel it physically. It pained me just to hear them, so I avoided risky dice rolls unless absolutely necessary. Selecting different areas, buying supplies, or managing ship components all come with satisfying clicks and digital sounds. Since you're mostly clicking around when not immersed in the narrative, the sound design fits perfectly, enhancing both story beats and the start of new cycles. The soundtrack is wonderful. I've been listening to the first game soundtrack for the last 2 years, so I was thrilled to hear that the composer, Amos Roddy, returned as well. A recent single released ahead of the game's launch was just a taste of what was to come. The ambient spacey vibe complements the sci-fi atmosphere, shifting tones during key story moments, sometimes serious, sometimes uplifting, setting the mood beautifully. The best way I can kind of describe Amos' style is he's like the Trent Reznor or Atticus Ross of indie gaming. Here's one of the songs from the soundtrack I thoroughly enjoyed. One of the highlights of Citizen Sleeper 2 is the depth of its world and the effort put into marketing it. For the last 2 years, Gareth has run a Substack featuring transcripts of the pirate radio station called Pilgrim Seed, transmitted from a refugee ship out of the Eye, the setting of the first game. As I mentioned earlier, you don't need to play the first game to understand the second, but returning players will recognize familiar characters. I haven't played part 1 yet, so I'm excited to see how everything connects, especially after meeting the pirate radio hosts, Cyrene and Kimball, during contracts in the Starward Belt. Quick note, the game has an autosave feature, so if you're hoping to save scum your way around the Helion system, think again. I love this, it adds tension to every big decision you make. Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector pulls you into the Sleeper's world and deeper still into their thoughts and mind. Gareth Damian Martin has achieved a tremendous feat connecting the game with the player like a sleeper hacking into a mainframe. The decision-based story doesn't hold back, forcing you to make tough choices that can determine the fate of those already struggling to survive in the belt. You have to choose wisely, your decisions might come back to haunt you. With a deep lore, a richly designed sci-fi world, and an atmospheric soundtrack, the team behind this game has created something truly special. The influence of Cowboy Bebop is clear, a ragtag crew, a ship always in need of repairs, and the constant struggle to make enough cryo to survive in space. Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector is a must-play and so far my favorite game of 2025. As much as I love a long 50 to 100 hour RPG in my latter years, it has become a struggle. That's why I love this particular RPG that only took me 16 hours to complete the main game, with some side tasks along the way. It's priced at $24.99, a fantastic price point for what you're offered. It's out now on PC, Switch, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Game Pass. With the first game, we were blessed with a physical tabletop version, and Lost in Cult Design Works book that also featured animatics from the Citizen Sleeper 2 reveal trailer, as well as DLC for the first game. I hope we get the same and then some because I'm eager to dive back into this world and learn more about it. It even inspired me to start exploring tabletop gaming, so if you have any recommendations, drop them in the comments below. Thanks to Fellow Traveler for the review key. Thank you for watching my review of Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. If you're looking for more narrative adventures, I suggest Phoenix Springs, another must-play popping up on your left, or check out my 25 best indie games of 2024 coming out on your right. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, GG.